Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Banholtz here, founder of Beard Brand, and you are listening to another e-commerce conversation put on by the wonderful Practical E-Commerce. It's funny, every other episode I've started this with, we've got an amazing guest here in the Austin studios, but today we're actually starting a little bit different. This is going to be the last update for me as the host of this show. And essentially, it's just going to be me talking to you guys. So I've got a little bit of an agenda as a way to kind of wrap it up before we hand it back to the team over at Practical E-Commerce, and give you kind of like the final things that you need to do to start up your e-commerce business. Now, this is episode number 19. We've had 18 other amazing episodes that give you a lot of insight into the various parts of the business, from the early days and, of course, up until the end when you sell the business and kind of move on with your next project. There is no right or wrong way to build a business. When you build a business, you are in complete control. And I wanted to really think about like e-commerce as a business. I know sometimes you can kind of get into the trap of, it's an e-commerce project versus understanding that is a business. And like every other business, I want to remind you that a business can be built off of three primary functions. And if you can focus on these three primary functions, you're going to find success in your project. And those three functions are going to be your vision, your execution, and money or cash flow. So when you think about your vision, you want to think about your mission statement, your core values. You know, why the heck are you in business? What are you doing? How are you changing the world? How are you bringing value to your audiences and your customers' lives? Like, this is really going to be the foundation for your business. This is going to be like the reason you exist. This is going to be the reason that you're able to persevere when the days get really dark and the challenges come at you and you're not sure that you still want to continue. Your vision, your mission, those are going to be the things that help you persevere. Then your core values are going to be what assist you when you're trying to make decisions. When you're on the fence of, should I do this or do that? You'll be able to lean back and look at your core values and have a firm grasp on what is the right direction and how it's going to align with your business. So when we think about business, I can think about like particularly Beard Brand. Our mission is to make men look and feel awesome. So when we think about the efforts that we're doing as an organization, is it in line with helping our audience look and feel awesome? Because ultimately we believe that when people feel and they look awesome, that's bringing confidence to them. And then with that confidence, they're going to be able to use that to become better fathers, to become better partners, to become better team members, to become better employees, to become stewards of the community. And then as that confidence kind of permeates with their little tribe or their little community, that's going to help make the world a better place. So Beard Brand really believes in kind of like a grassroots growth to making the world better. And it all starts with loving the person who's looking back at you on the mirror. So that's what's driving us every single day. Like, how do we get that message out? How do we help people? What are the content that we provide for them? What are the products that we can provide for them? And what are the events that we can put on for them that really foster that mission? Beard Brand's core values are freedom, hunger, and trust. And there's a lot of different ways that you can come up with your core values. We wanted to have single words because it gives us a little more flexibility to kind of like describe things and the projects we're working on. But when you think of your core values, I want to challenge you to not come up with core values that mean the same thing. So you don't want to have like a hunger and a drive, you don't want to have those two things within your core values. Like narrow it down to the one word that really represents the thing that you're trying to come up with once. So if we had like freedom and independence, it's just, you're just kind of making things confusing. So boil it down to the necessary components to the best of your abilities. And in addition to that, try to build core values that balance each other out. For instance, with our core values, if you have too much freedom, you're going to start to erode trust with your team members. Like if you're off and doing whatever you want, whenever you want, not communicating it, you're eroding the trust that you have with your partners, your vendors, your customers. So there is always going to be a balance with your core values to make sure you don't kind of go off the deep end. I think in today's world, you always get this pressure to go to the extreme. You're always going to want to have like the fastest growing company or the best product or, the most interesting this or that. And what's really going to be successful in a business, in my opinion, is a business with balance. Because with balance, you have stability, you have less drama, you have expectations that your customers will know that's coming, you'll be able to hit it, and you'll have sustainability, because like a lot of the things that cause rapid growth, like let's say you put all your growth strategies in the Facebook basket and then Facebook changes the pricing model, then that can fundamentally change your business. So Beard Brand, this is kind of dipping into the next part of of building a business, but really like that balance is key, and not just your vision, but many aspects of your business. And speaking of vision, like the vision is going to help guide the decisions that you're making within the organization. If you're trying to become, the next Amazon of e-commerce, then you're going to need to go out and raise a bunch of money and pitch VCs and like, make big bets to grow at very rapid paces. But if your vision is to build almost like more of a lifestyle brand, then you'll want to avoid that, because you don't want to have your investor breathing down your neck all the time saying like, why didn't you hit these quarter numbers? Or why are you marketing this way? Why are you not focusing on this product when it's doing really well? So freedom for us is a big part of our vision, our core values. And it means that we want to build a business that doesn't require VC or outside money. So it really does shape the decisions that we make and the hard decisions that we'll have to make sure that the business is growing in the way that aligns with our vision. So a business with wonderful execution and plenty of cash flow is just going to be like an octopus with a bunch of arms going all over the place and not really moving in the right direction. You want to make sure that you're able to pull that execution in the right direction with the cash flow that you have. The other thing is, as you grow your business, the function of your leadership is going to be that vision function. So you'll want your leadership to spend as much time as possible working on the vision, communicating the vision, bringing that vision to the team so that every arm, every aspect of your company is pointed in that right direction and moving the company forward. So let's talk about the execution. So you can have a team with, we already talked about a team with wonderful execution, no visions like an octopus, but a team with vision and cash flow is just a company with a bunch of good ideas that really doesn't get off the ground. And I've seen companies like that happen as well. So a lot of our podcasts in the series really did kind of talk about the execution of things. So you should have been able to pick up a lot of good lessons. If not, go back to our previous episodes. They're going to be good today, or they're going to be good in another year or 2 years as you run into those various topics. Kind of a big thing for me is in the execution side of things, you want to build a drama-free organization. And if you build a drama-free organization, that means you are really making decisions based on data and based on the KPIs. So KPIs, again, if you're not familiar, is a key performance indicator. It's essentially a metric that tells you if you're being successful or not. By having KPIs, the members of your team are going to know if they're being successful or not. No one wants to work for your company and not be successful. Everyone's driven to do the best for your organization. Everyone's driven to execute for your organization. No one's out here trying to sabotage your business. But what happens is you can have a breakdown in communication and a misunderstanding of the direction that you need to move because it's not clearly executed upon and because you don't have that proper framework to move the company forward. Now, execution looks different at every stage of your business. If you're in that startup mode and it's just you, it's best not to have a lot of framework. You need to just go and find problems, solve problems, move on to the next thing, put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire. But eventually, as you get to a certain point, probably like, every business is different, but probably around like $1 million of revenue, you're going to want to start implementing these standard operating procedures, the kind of the things that you're going to be able to do on a repeatable basis and hand over to other team members for them to be able to execute on so you can focus on the bigger fires, the bigger vision that your company needs. So always don't fall into the trap of wanting to implement something of a company or of a person that you admire. Your business needs what your business needs at this current stage, and that's always going to evolve. So keep that in mind, that your execution strategy should always be evolving depending on the size of your business and depending on the needs of your business. Now, a couple of other things that I really want to recommend to help keep a drama-free business is going to be hiring the right team members and making sure that your hiring process really is aligned with your core values and the people coming on board are excited to work on the mission and they believe in the mission. They believe in what you're doing as an organization. You're also going to want to encourage team members as you grow to solve the problems directly with the people they have problems with. You don't want to create this organization where everyone kind of runs up to, the CEO or comes up to the top to solve their problems. You want to help train them to solve their own. And then you as the owner, the founder of the business, you need to start to learn how to be okay with how they make decisions and how they take ownership for their own products or projects. And this can be like a very challenging one. And I say this advice still as an individual who's working on this, who's trying to grow and trying to let the team make their own decisions and own those decisions and then help them learn from those decisions and really help celebrate when they make the decisions that make a big impact on the business as well. And another thing that I've found really crucial in executing at a high level is focus on actions over words. Not everyone, but there's a lot of people out there who talk a big game, who say a lot of things. They say they're going to do this. And it could be customers, it could be your team, it could be your partners, it could be your vendors. But the data is really in not what they say, but what they do. So you want to look at actions. So the simplest situation to tell a story is like asking your customers, what products do they want? So I want this product, that product, this product. And then those are words, right? So they all say they want it. They all say they're going to pay this amount for it. And then when you list the product, you may find that answer is completely different. You may find their words do not align with their actions at all. So words can kind of help get you an idea, kind of get you directionally there, but they're never going to be the thing that you want to build your organization around. So focus on execution. The most important part, of your business, well, I guess the third most important part, because all three of these are pretty equal, is your cash flow. A business isn't going to grow without resources. I think the other trap that people fall into is they don't have enough, right? They don't have enough money. And I want to make sure you shift that perception, because absolutely every single business out there is dealing with scarcity of resources, of time, of team members, of cash. And what makes a good business different than a poor business or a failing business is their ability to recognize these scarce resources and then to be able to prioritize them. So a couple recommendations that I have is similar to your personal finance. You want to have your business pay itself first. And what do I mean by that? It's focus on your bottom line. You want to make sure that your net profit is the most important thing to your organization, and find a net profit that not only allows you to live the life that you want to live, but allows your organization to grow and thrive without you. So you set that bottom net profit for what you want, and that will give you your allocations that you can have for your other aspects of your business. So, how much is going to COGS? Is it COGS, of course, is cost of goods sold or the amount you pay for the products. And then, how much are you putting into marketing, to personnel? And by having those scarce and firm budgeting framework, that's forcing you to really prioritize what's going to bring the most value to the organization. Once you have those core prioritizations, then start with the one that's going to give the biggest impact first. And then kind of like as you completely exhaust that, then move on to the next thing. So let's say, for instance, Facebook ads drives a 3x return on ad spend. And then, once I totally saturate that marketplace, I can move on to, Google AdWords, which gives me a 2.5 return on ad spend. Of course, business is never that cut and dry and simple. You kind of need to try different things and dip your toes in the water and have a period of exploration and learning. But your general process is, as long as you can have the fewest amount of resources go into something that generates the biggest impact to your business, that's really going to help build a healthy and sustainable business. The final thing that I want you to take into consideration with the cash flow is really your seen versus unseen. And this isn't just your cash flow, but it's all resources. Is the time and energy, the money that you put into a project means you're not putting it into another project. So you can make a decision to say, like, I'm going to buy this software or not buy this software, or I'm going to invest my time in this or not invest your time in it, and see the results of that. But you're not going to see the results of, had I put that money in a different project. So let's go back to the advertising example. I could have put $10,000 into Facebook ads, but I could have also put $10,000 into creating YouTube videos. And I'm not going to know what the results of those YouTube videos are going to be, because ultimately I made that commitment to Facebook. So it's really kind of understanding the opportunity cost of the decisions you make, and knowing that there are always going to be alternatives for how you allocate your scarce resources. Now that you understand your e-commerce business is going to be like any other business, let's talk a little bit about the e-commerce space. I kind of sit firmly in the idea that e-commerce has changed a lot over the years. And probably the things that I tell you today aren't always going to be relevant in the future, because markets are shifting. Now is probably one of the best times to get into the e-commerce space. When I created my first e-commerce business back in the day, there were two platform options. There was open source commerce or OSS commerce, something like that. And then a brand new platform was being built called Magento. And those were the two options. And I built a store on Magento, and it was a resource hog, and it was crashing all the time, and it was really challenging. The other alternative was to work with a web designer, build something custom from the ground up, which was going to cost you $30,000 or more. So now you can go to Shopify or BigCommerce or Squarespace or many of the other providers out there and get started for essentially like $30 and have your e-commerce store up and running. That's awesome. In fact, Beard Brand got started with a $30 investment and a promise from our vendor, or our product vendor. Now, I think the landscape shifted a lot since we started as well. Amazon has given huge opportunities for entrepreneurs to sell on that platform. So you're not even limited to building out your own platform. You can sell on eBay, you can sell on Amazon, you can build your store on Jet, which is a Walmart property. And heck, I even think Sears has its own e-commerce platform that you can become a reseller on. So finding the opportunity is completely out there. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan in the pure retail play. I think that's a very challenging market to play in. And for those who aren't exactly sure what I mean by a retail play is you find products that are manufactured by other ones, you bring them together under a particular brand, and then you sell it under that. So an example in my industry would be beardoils.com, and you just sell every single beard oil under the sun. Well, the reality is like you are probably not going to have that much of a competitive advantage over Amazon, which is essentially doing the same thing. They're going to have the same inventory, and then they're going to have the same trust. There are brands that currently exist out there that are successful in this world. There's a lot of brands who have established their niches and they're able to get exclusive access to products because of their long-term relationships. Perhaps there are still niches out there that you could really come in and dominate, but that would be my recommendation. If you're playing the pure online retail play, you really need to find a niche that's not currently being hit and be able to really understand that customer and deliver value way beyond just like a wide selection and low price. You need to do education. You need to have like incredible videos, incredible photography, incredible storytelling, and then an incredible delivery experience that they're not going to be able to get from Amazon. Now, the alternative to that, if that was the direction you're going to go and you're like, oh man, I wanted to sell beardoils.com, but now I realize it would just be a waste of time and money, what I would recommend you do is think about yourself as a business again. And as a business, how can you develop a product that has no competition? Because when you're selling the same beard oil as 3 other online retailers, you've got 3 retailers for that exact same product. But if you can design and manufacture your own product, then you're competing against no one. Now, yes, that product is going to be compared to other products in that space, but you're totally in control of the price of the product, who can carry it, who can resell it, and how you display that product to your audience. So e-commerce, the direct-to-consumer space, and even on Amazon, like really your best bet is to develop a product. Now, developing a product is a pretty big challenge. It's not something easy to do. So, take that in consideration when you think about getting into e-commerce and the resources that are going to take to really build a successful brand. And we talked about it earlier, if you're developing your own product, something like Kickstarter may be a great way to kind of quote unquote kickstart your e-commerce business and get your product off the ground without having to build that complex infrastructure of like a website or an Amazon storefront that needs a lot of reviews and kind of sales velocity to get into the recommended engine from Amazon. So it's easy to say over here at Beard Brand, oh yeah, just come up with your own product. But go back, like when you think about this, go back and start thinking about your life. What are the things that you're interacting with every day? What are the problems that you're dealing with? What are the solutions that would enhance your own life? What are the things that you're passionate about? Because when you really build a business that's centered around a product that you love, you're going to be able to speak authentically to the product. You're going to be able to know how to solve the problems. You're going to know how to manufacture a product that's going to withstand the demands. And I also want to say is like, if you develop this product and you find there's a product very similar to it that you had not known about before your research, then I would encourage you, don't worry about that, because the fact that you are not aware of that product is proof that there's opportunity in the marketplace. Like your competitive advantage can be your ability to get in front of the right audience and tell them the things that they need and bring value that way. So just because the product's been created before, don't let it stop you from going forward and creating it. But again, like don't go, in my opinion, don't go and just rip someone off. I think that's kind of lazy marketing. You have to be innovative. You have to do something that no one's willing to do. The space in e-commerce right now is not a space for Me Too's and copycats. It's a space for people who are innovative, who see where companies are not thriving to the fullest potential, and will come in and really shake up the industry and shake up the marketplace. So as we wrap this up, I want you to think about like, what are your next steps? Like you can listen to podcasts all day long for hours on end. And essentially what you are is a wantrepreneur. You're a person, a dude or dudette who's trying to start a business, who thinks they're going to start a business and has ideas of grandeur of all the great things you can do. But ultimately, you're not doing anything. So my recommendation is like, if you've listened to this full series, you've got more than enough information right now to go out and just do it. Just get started. I mean, Nike's motto is the greatest motto when it comes to entrepreneurship. You're not going to know everything. To this day, myself, I still don't know anything. Like, I'm learning every single day, and that's what business is your business is just a series of wanting to solve problems and figuring out how to solve them. And I kind of like to say, like, a business that goes out of business or a business that stops growing is pretty much where the ownership or the leaders of the organization finally found a problem that they weren't willing to solve. They weren't willing to overcome that hurdle, that objection. They weren't smart enough. They weren't driven enough. They weren't passionate enough. Whatever it was, they weren't risk averse enough to do it. But that problem can be solved. Every single problem in business can be solved. You just have to find the ways to do it. So go ahead, get started with your business, start doing. And yeah, you can continue to listen to podcasts in these series, and I encourage you. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. There's a lot of educational sources, but your best education comes from doing and learning. And then once you do, you get those first couple sales in, you get that little hit of dopamine from, that $30 order that came in, and that's what's going to motivate you to keep on going, to provide for your customers. And then you reach out to those customers and you tell them, thank you, like you're my first order. Thank you so much. Tell your friends, tell everyone, I want you to have the best experience, and then come back to me if you have any more questions. That's going to be the type of stuff that really drives your business forward. And again, we've probably said this in a past episode, but don't compare yourself to someone else's tomorrow, if that makes sense. Like, what I want you to do is compare yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as an e-commerce owner to your past self. If you look at what you're doing today and you're comparing it to me 6 years into our business, then yeah, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to be like, whoa, Beard Brand's getting, daily emails out and they've got tons of content and 1,000 videos. Like, you're not creating 1,000 videos in one day. That took us 6 years to get to. So what you need to do as a entrepreneur is focus on your past self. And am I getting better? Am I improving? Am I learning from my mistakes? Am I pushing business forward? Am I growing within the organization? Now, creating this series has been a ton of fun, and I've really enjoyed having the guests on here. And I hope if you've enjoyed it, that you've gotten value out of it. Please follow me on Twitter, or even better than following me on Twitter, send me an @ message on Twitter. I love chatting. I love sharing my expertise. If you have any kind of questions about your website, what you're doing, you think that it would be interesting for me to look over, give a little bit of insight, Twitter is a wonderful platform for that. My Twitter handle is @BanHoltz. If you're not interested in me, at least do my business a little bit of favor. Like, go ahead and take care of yourself. Go ahead, buy some shampoo and conditioner. If you're a girl, go ahead and buy some utility bar. If you're a guy, you don't need a beard. Just take care of your skin. I'm telling you, you're worth it. If I brought you any kind of value over these past 19 episodes, go ahead, just do me a little favor and buy something nice for yourself. So if you don't want to buy it from beardbrand.com, you can also head into Target, grab our value line. $15, it would mean the world for me. And then, of course, I encourage you guys to stick around with Practical E-commerce. They're an amazing website. Podcast has done a tremendous world of good for e-commerce owners out there and business owners out there, bringing great content, bringing great talent, and really having individuals who have done it, like, quote unquote, like practically, like that's in their name. They have practical experience building businesses, and they take the time to share that with their audience. So major props to Practical E-commerce for allowing me to host this show and bring on these guests. They're an amazing team over there. They bring great words. They bring great words and great work as well. But I can't speak highly enough to the team over at Practical E-commerce, and really encourage you guys to check them out. As always, I appreciate you guys listening. If you reach out to me on Twitter, that would be amazing. Thank you for these past 19 episodes. This will be me signing off for the foreseeable future. As always, thanks, cheers, and keep on growing.